Test. Test. Why do I sound so low? What's up with the volume? Is this not working normally? What's. Did I change something here? No. No idea. Anyway. Okay. Let me look off. Disconnected. Uh, mouse, so that's fine. What else? Yeah, I should like sit down. Today, I don't know. If I should say it. Anyway. Yeah. I already. That's hello. Welcome. Yeah, that's thing out curiosity and how it impacts people in general. That thing, I guess, is important. So what I'm trying to say is, today I don't have any candy. Thank you. We we have decided to abstain from sugar today. Also, I mean personally, because I had like enough food for like a month. Yeah, that's it also. But anyway, what is it today? It's like 5, 6 of July. 6 of July already, man. How time passes. Also, I still have to set up stuff in order to start uh, writing. I guess. So anyway, uh, that's I don't know. That's important. I guess I don't know. Whatever. The point is. ah, it has been quite a long time. The last occasion that I was here. Now, I think I say it, so I shouldn't repeat it. Thankfully enough, now we have a lot more time, so yeah, it's going to get a lot better, at least for like 2 weeks. So yeah. Anyway, I should have okay. I have to be honest. Let me start with anything. I should have written stuff. I had an idea, and I saw. Have I ever talked about that? I mean, it's to some degree, it's pretty. I wouldn't say personal in a sense in which, oh wow, yeah, I'm revealing too much, but it's like something pretty subjective, let's say. And I don't know. I feel like sometimes that is overwhelming since I don't really get to mention anything else in that sense. Also, it's pretty much an unavoidable reality since uh, the whole structure of this thing doesn't allow for the other things to be like that. So, anyway, what I was trying to say, sometimes I can have ideas how to stuff in general, but sometimes what happens is I can also structure it, in which it mostly for something like I don't know, I guess a tweet, something as mindless as just tweeting stuff can also allow for a lot of, let's say, awareness of what is. No, not awareness. A lot of premeditation, that's the proper word, before putting it into the words themselves. It's like the long process of trying to say something, even more understanding that it has stuff related to how, sadly, yeah, it might be an issue that if things are incomprehensible, there is no point. And also, if things are too basic, there is also like no use in saying I don't know the sky is blue. Wow, amazing revelation. So yeah, it's trying to play between those things. And the point, the real point was, I had something, and sometimes I don't know. I haven't. Okay, let's go for that. I have been struggling quite a lot. I think I mentioned it earlier at some point in life, I guess. Here, that yeah, I I don't used to keep track of things, but I don't really like to do that. It's a complicated matter to keep track of many things in a way in which, if you are to write it down, many of your ideas, you will end up finding out that subtly it isn't that you don't have many ideas, it is that you just forgot what was the proper context of them. And even if you are to come back to them later on, you don't really get what you were talking about. So it's not only an action that it in itself requires too much effort to properly lead to anything, but also it is an action that in the end, if it isn't performed for the sake of allowing oneself to get in any kind of development into any other area, the moment you have to come back to those things, like for example, um, here, writing stuff down so that later on you can continue what you were thinking, I guess. If you have to come back, what you end up finding out is, yeah, not only I don't understand, I misused my time by trying to continue something that I cannot comprehend at all. So I don't know. It's on that side. It's I guess complicated or worrisome. Something. It's something. And the point is, I don't know. I just think that more than anything else, there are in that very same realm of ideas in general. There are many concepts that appear in the mind for 1 second, but afterwards, even if you believe that you're having the same concept, some minor details disappear already. So we lose the capacity to focus on what we were actually thinking about the moment we let them leave. And it's this concept of the memory of a memory, it's the idea of an idea that makes you believe that you're on the same path or following the same route to get to any kind of conclusion of that sort. So I feel like it is complicated in that sense. It's it's not a completely useless activity to write it down and stuff and to keep journals about things, but it's more I have to accept it. It's also more than anything else, yeah. Uh Mere rationalization in this case appropriately because it's not something that truly doesn't allow you to continue thinking what you were thinking before. The proper usage of words itself is also one of the most important things in all of this. If you understand that you are going to forget, and maybe you don't know it in the exact moment in which you want to do it, but you can at least develop that capacity so that over time you can write this stuff down so that when you come and look at it later on, at any other point in your life, you understand what you were trying to talk about. It's, I guess, a sort of idea relating to how, in many cases, we do not take our own subjectivity into account when it comes to rereading what we have written for ourselves. Those things in regards to, I guess, written messages, texts, basically, about how a person can understand the context and the empty spaces And also the other has to pay attention to that. And the issue is, some cases, even when we are trying to do that, we forget to properly utilize our capacity so that we can understand them, no matter where we are coming from. But also, I can also accept one of the many issues, and at that point, it's more than anything else being paranoid, yeah, but it's if you have to write things so that you can understand them at any other point in time, it might as well also mean that you have to write them so that any person can understand them, no matter what they know about you, so to speak. So the issue is, can you really do that actively? Can you explain things in such a way so that it makes more sense for literally everyone? That's one of the issues of having to be open about the stuff. Sometimes even more with how we consider things like ideas and whatnot. The desire to hoard knowledge or wisdom wouldn't really allow for the subjectivity of anybody to get squashed under the excuse or the necessity, if it were to be real, of continuously developing other concepts. But I mean, that's on a grander or on a bigger scale. It's also the very same thing of, yeah, sadly, if you want to make something worth, you need to accept that, yeah, it doesn't belong to us. That principle, I can't even remember where. That's something funny. I guess, I don't know, one second. You can cite one of the thousands of people who have said it at this point, and that will be the correct source. You wanna say that it was Nietzsche who said it? Okay, we can do that. It was Nietzsche who said that supposedly ideas aren't yours. You just get them, and you get the possibility to express them even more than what you get initially. But the idea itself isn't yours. It just falls on your hands. If something like that is properly utilized, then any other process of the communication of the concept itself, which you are thinking about, becomes a lot easier since you are allowing what you what you are, what you can be, and what you want to get to all act in unison, so to speak. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty much to some degree this idea of the dissolution of the ego of the author, not believing that your words are just yours to keep. Anyway, I guess, yeah, I didn't really think about it before. So if anything, it's useful to have it more understandable now, to have it appear more understandable now. I think so. So yeah, I can say that I'm happy with that. But also, that's the issue of coming here, to some degree. That I there are always projects and things to think about, and there are always this idea of there are threads that you can always pull from. Pulling from some of them requires a lot of energy, and like in this case, it's an task, exhausting task. Not in the sense of wow, hate it, but rather of, and the man, what a truly tiresome thing. Anyway, I guess I don't know. It's just something that happens. I can say it doesn't really matter. It's just that sometimes I guess everybody would like to have the capacity to do more, and no matter yeah, that's also the funny thing here. No matter how much you want to do more, you never get to just be utterly capable at anything because a proper challenge for you requires also something that does put your abilities to test and puts you on the line so that if you supposedly are capable of doing things, then it is your time to sort of demonstrate that. If not, you might as well be a screwed, let's say. But I don't know. It's just a process, and it's more than anything else is. From a personal perspective, it's understanding also that even if I finished the day tired, as long as it was tiredness that came from something meaningful, or from something that I wanted to do, exhaustion that is gained due to the willful actions that we take, as long as it is something of those types, then it is fine. It's just that, I don't know, you would believe also that being tired wouldn't be such an issue, but you never know, man. It's also probably, let me say it like this, it's also probably something related to how sometimes what is it? We over amplify or overestimate, exaggerate. I can't remember the exact word, but over it's we simply give too much importance to things like oh yeah yeah, might be feeling a little bit tired or just a little bit I don't know under the weather, for example. And none of that stuff. It's true that it happens, but it doesn't mean that it needs to be the only thing to think about itself and to always avoid it. One of the I guess I can talk about that. I remember talking with my family recently about some books, and somehow it was funny to see that they started to read some things that I sort of already explored, sort of already knew, not from the exact author, but rather from all the other authors that inspired this particular author. So it was funny in that sense, and it the reality itself is I don't know, man. Sometimes we just worry too much about things. In this case, I guess I assume it came from there, and we forget that by worrying about them and not being able of confronting what we actually need to do, we make the situation itself even worse. So the avoidance of actions and the incapacity to commit to what it's not an issue of commitment, it's more of a I cannot truly grasp why I need to do something from a different perspective. So I would rather sit in the one that I already know that allows me to say, oh yeah, yeah. A little bit in this case, as I'm talking about tiredness, a little bit of tiredness can already it's so fucking I mean, it's true that I can feel that, but I don't know. I can feel many things. Why don't I decide to focus on my capacity to, I don't know, maybe feel a little bit of hunger, maybe feel a little bit of thirst. There are always sensations that we could understand. Are we doing it? No. We focus only on the ones that we want to use the most for the things that we want to do. That sense. And the issue is, can I consciously recognize that it is happening in that way? Or will I just sit in this sort of rational explanation as to why I am doing something else that doesn't truly make me better in a certain way, but rather just allow me to continue down the path that I have already, not already, I have always taken, so that I don't have at least to deal with the anxiety of, oh wow, something new. Who knows? Really, who knows? It's it's just too much interest on everything, I guess. That too much. Yeah, yeah. Let's say like this. Also, once again, as a reminder, perhaps from my personal perspective, it also can be that the issue itself isn't really what is being said, but everything else that is behind that in terms of, oh, yeah, yeah. I, if I want to stay healthy and if I want to blah, 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 and all of that sort of biological explanation as to why worrying so much about something might be useful, I don't know. For example, on the other hand, that there is also this explanation of, and when you start to keep worrying about something that you cannot fix, you start to generate higher levels of cortisol in your blood. And when that happens, different systems related to, I don't remember exactly what was it. I think it was the oxygenation of the blood don't work as they should, so that if you continuously do stuff of this sort, you slowly damage yourself. Even if you believe that by worrying out something, you're doing a good job. If you don't really, yeah, if you don't have that knowledge, you don't have any possibility to solve it. You just have the notion that you're worrying, the interest to perhaps stop, but no actual reason to do so. It's this always constant inner fight instead of oneself of, I don't want to actually abandon this ship. There is no need for us to surrender in the face of this challenge, not because we physically can't, but rather because we ourselves don't have proper notion as to why we should do something like that. So the issue becomes more in terms of, okay, can I allow myself to experience this in a different way? Or will I just stay with what I know? Maybe maybe I can say that what I know already is enough, but what the fuck is that like anyway? Sorry. Uh, in the end, what matters isn't truly what gets just seen at a first glance. What matters is the proper best thing in terms of any kind of goal. And I don't know, we don't. Yeah, that's one of the issues, I guess, of understanding concepts about those philosophical ideas. We don't really want to aspire to that sort of greatness. I don't have that much of an interest in finding the truth about the whole world in many cases, not because I don't believe that I can do it, but rather because if I had to find it and I saw it and it contradicted what I already feel is true enough for me, I will have to remove this previous bad thing, then change, and that's where the issue becomes there. Even more on one second because we don't talk about those things. It just happens that oh yeah. We are experiencing this issue. It's time to move on, man. It's time to just ignore that it happened in a certain way and go towards somewhere different. That's it. But I don't know. In a way, let me say, everything is challenging. So at least we just choose either the challenges that we're the most capable of solving or the ones that we can survive the most. Or we feel like we can survive the most. Or endure in terms of not survival, but rather going through them itself. So, who knows also? Just just that, I guess. Some observation of conduct. That's always something useful. Sometimes I will even say realizing that we have some sort of behaviors is not truly the issue or the problem, but rather realizing why they are there is that matters. And in that moment also, it's something that plays a lot with. And maybe even if you can awareness about the issue itself, if you have to try and solve, so to speak, this negative thing in a way in which you don't feel so as if you were basically wrong about yourself, you'll need a lot of what is it? Will, I guess. I don't know. I mean, you will need a lot of everything basically. It's something about will, about time, about patience, about interest, about proper understanding as to why it is necessary to change. But we can't have everything in that sense. So sort of who knows? I don't know, man. It's just that, let's say, to some degree, change is always possible, supposedly, but the option itself, or the action itself of changing, is not something so easily taken, because it might be something highly demanding and even less if we have already found what gives us enough comfort. We don't really need it, or we don't really desire a change anymore at that point. It's, yeah, yeah. I have been thinking about it for a little bit lately. This idea of how when people have a complete peace, they feel like they need to change things. They start to introduce chaos into their lives in order to shake things up a little bit and make things different. I don't think so. What I see, at the least in from a sort of different perspective, but yeah, from people who suffer stuff like hysteria and neurosis and whatnot, the observations are more along the lines of, yeah, suddenly, if you find ways of existing that allow you to be to the degree to which you want at that moment, even if it doesn't matter if it is healthy or not, it's something that you want. And if you find something that can validate that way of being properly enough, you might as well have found just the correct, so yeah, the correct way of existing from that point onwards. And if there is no outer interference with what you have now started to do, you might as well stay in that same path for as much as you can. It doesn't truly mean that phrase of, yeah, yeah, people love chaos. No, not really. We like controlled chaos, but I don't know, we don't start to change dramatically stuff just because we find ourselves doing good one day. And I don't know, man, it's just in itself something, I guess, complicated, or yeah, not complicated, more along the lines of not so easy to mention directly. It's, I think I can say it like this. There is something always in the realm of observing oneself's ego in general that makes it require a lot of effort. Not because it is impossible to do so, and because we need to be properly looking for it, but rather because you can find it. But if you try then to explain its mechanisms, everything else that is related to these ways of getting accustomed to things starts to kick in, and you slowly but surely lose the capacity to just be someone different. Because I guess in terms of brain dynamics, what will get chosen isn't going to be this new idea that you have never before considered, but rather the already known patterns and the already accepted ones. So it's an struggle from that side to mention it. Not to say that it is completely unavoidable, but rather, I guess, as an excuse to just move on to something different and easier to mention without feeling that much mental load, mental burden of, yeah. You're trying to talk about you. Are you having all of these things into consideration? Are you seeing all of these others? Is this coming from the ego or from the outer ego? Is this self? Is this not self? What is this? So yeah, it's complicated. Not I used that word incredibly wrong. Sorry for that. It's just something time consuming. And for the sake of efficiency, at least I like to, I guess, dodge those overly complicated things. So yeah, it's just that, I guess. I don't know. Besides from that, what's going on? I don't know. I remember, yeah, I what I wanted to say also, for example, is on a different, completely different note. I haven't, yeah, one of the many worries I had since a while ago is how sort of incapable we are to properly use our time for the sake of learning about things that we say we care about, not because we don't learn as much as we can, but rather because there are different methods. And if anything, I can say that I feel like despite this general failure, it is still on a personal level a failure to see so many people who could have gained even greater skills at what they like, not be capable of reaching those plateaus, so to speak, because it's just, I guess it goes back into the same thing. We can't change in that sense. We found a way that seems the most comfortable one, and that's it. We're sticking with that one. And even then, it doesn't mean that we can't make it more efficient. I will say probably efficiency is a dangerous word, even more for mental things. You don't want to just describe yourself in terms of efficiency or inefficiency. It's dehumanizing to see things from that perspective and nothing else. But in this case, okay, let's say like this, it will allow for an even better functioning functionality that from all of that type of things we're talking about, then it will allow for a better functionality to just change things a little bit and allow oneself to see how even the already known actions could be taking some steps further, so to speak. And I don't know, man. I don't think we literally can't do that, but it's in general an issue, and I feel like, if anything, it's something that just needs to keep being worked on from a personal perspective. Many people, I guess, it has mostly also to do with desire and whatnot. If we can desire things, then we can allow ourselves to try and change things. If we don't, then it might as well not be possible for us to become better at actions. This whole, is diagram the correct word? This whole field of, yeah, I can see that I'm not giving it my best. So instead of settling down with what I have, I will try to pursue a little bit more of skills at doing things, more exploration, more courage to be better what I want. And once desire and capacities met have met one another, I guess we finally get the chance to be in that sense better. If not, it's just, I mean, that's the issue. People, in most cases, I am coming from a perspective of, yeah, people could be learning more. People are already happy with how they are learning, so they don't need to be more demanding with themselves. This whole perspective of being so exigent with oneself also is, I don't know, I feel like it's a sort of mistake of the present. We shouldn't be so capable of just settling down with what we are, yet almost every single day we slip more and more into this role of comfort that we can design for ourselves. So it's it's hard to properly encapsulate into anything. It's just, yeah, I think to some degree I'm just going back to the same old dialogue of, oh yeah, society robs us of a spirit of creativity, blah 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 blah. But all of that is already said in my case, so I don't know. It's just avoiding repetition in that sense. There are still many more other mysteries that deserve time also. And yeah, that was one of the many questions that I have been wondering about. Because it's easy to just give already existing things a new flavor. And from that, keep working on the same place eternally. From from a more understandable perspective, I have been talking lately with my family and whatnot, and something that happened, something that came to me was this question of, okay, what kind of path are you going to follow? That whole, I guess, situation of growing up and having to tell your family, what the fuck are you going to do with your life, brother? That thing. And yeah, uh, personally, I can accept that I don't really like that sort of absurdly repetitive thing in which we just do the same thing over and over and over. But I have talked out here already this idea of, you know, you sometimes might as well not be doing what you want, but rather you will be doing something that allows you to later on decompress and do what you want with more efficacy than if you were to not do that unsaid, unpleasant thing. As in, we can work 9 to 5 jobs. It doesn't mean that they are nice. It doesn't mean that we are actually valuable, but it means that we get to survive until next month at the very least. And with that, we have a lot of privileges in our hands in terms of what we start being able of doing after that. And who knows, it's something that needs a lot of, I guess, active. Is ignorance the proper word, so to speak? I know that I want to enjoy stuff. I know that I want to have such a pleasant time, but at the least, if I say that it doesn't happen like that, or if I decide to focus on something else, I can justify doing this one thing that I don't like. It doesn't matter if in the end I end up destroyed by so much repetition of something so uncherishable. At least I got to do it and do the other things that I decided to focus on. It's this slow degradation of the value of, I guess, our own time more than anything else. That's no, or not even a degradation. Let's say like this: to degrade the way in which you understand the value of your own time, you have to properly understand it to begin with, and to understand it in this case requires also to be capable of going through the whole journey of setting up all of those dangerous words, the very, very dangerous word, boundaries, wow, that make you understand why some things are more precious for you than others. And delimiting what is it that you want to, what is it that you want to have, and blah, blah, blah. So, not risking finding out what you are, we just give in to the already presented option of, well, at least you can commit to this. And from there on, everything else is also easily assumable. I wouldn't say is the word. Easily graspable, so to speak. Probably. But I don't know. It's just sometimes, let's say, we need time to think out this stuff and we're not even willing to do it. Not because we don't have it, but rather we prioritize other things. And I guess that's one of the many issues of life in general. Yes, sometimes avoiding things brings so much more harm than fixing them. That's, I guess, the goal. Yeah, we can say it like that. That enough awareness, even if it is painful enough at the beginning, in the end, it helps anybody. Not because just just due to you suffering, you you are now freed from being, so to speak, or anything like that, or this idea of yeah, suffering justifies the experience. No, 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 no. It's that even though it is an unpleasant time, something that requires change and blah blah blah, what matters the most is that you can actually feel or get to have better future experiences once the bad part has been overcome. Let's say that's a more correct way of spelling it. And I don't know. I think it's also just the eternal battle of, oh wow, I have things that I want to see happen, but I can say it to some degree. I understand what needs to be done, and if I have to admit properly that I understand it, and I have to admit also that I understand how much I need to change in order to get to the places which I aspire, or the goals that I aspire to, I might also need to accept that personally there are many other things that need to go right now. And I don't know, it's not harshness as in oh wow, so we cannot ever realize that we have mistakes in us. We are condemned. No, 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 no. Just trying to be better without so much distraction in the way, I guess. Also, good evening, Sig. I hope you're well. Yeah. Today we're fine. I guess tired and fine. That's that idea of when you and when you are they have a proper name on English. Ah, but those separators like bats or such. Tired and fine, not tired but fine. Tired and fine. Also, good show, I guess. Very, I don't know. I have okay. I can say this personally. I I get to play a lot with the ranking, I guess. So I got to have quite a long off time without the drinking, and now with a little bit of alcohol, I get to feel a lot of effect again. So I I don't know. I don't hear people talk about it in terms of the proper hangover. I think the hangover are more mostly the bad effects, but yeah, I I wake up mostly still drunk, and it's something. It feels weird, I guess, but as long as there is nothing going bad, it isn't really an issue. And the point is also, in any way, survival song. That's nice too. Very good show. Also, wait, can I ask that? Is that a good question to ask? Is it too much pressure? Are you going to stream soon? Soon? I think you haven't. Besides the one stream that you did recently, no, you can sort of hit the button. But I don't know, people. I can't say that they are wrong. That I such stuff quite a lot. Yeah, I'm somebody highly sentimental. But yeah, good luck. That's what I wanted to say. It's just I don't know. It's something complicated, I guess. Understanding that sometimes we don't really mean what we mean. It's not wow, yeah, this guy he has a good life. No, it's more like yeah, I want to see the people that I like doing good, and I believe that things might change if they can do certain other things. Can I actually tell that to them? No. This whole idea is of masculinity, of uh, I'm going to be that much sincere. I'm going to talk emotions. No way. We don't talk about that sort of stuff here. We don't mention that sort of thing in this place. In in general, in this society. So I guess I will have to tell them in a very roundabout way, and I have to assume also that they will probably not understand what I'm exactly trying to mean, but at the least, if anything, they might as well get the message. And if they don't, it isn't my issue because I also can't be honest. So, wow, it's so good. This whole situation is so out of my control, out of what by following that logical path, I guess. Yeah, anyway, I don't know. I've been rambling for how long? I feel like 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure it hasn't been 20 minutes. At this point, it cannot be 20 minutes. Yeah, it has been happening. Okay, you know what? I should drink something. That's what I should do. I should hire it a little bit. So yeah, let me try to do. What is life? If not a series of problems that need to be solved. Anyway, I don't know. Okay, I can talk about this. I sort of wanted to mention that. I sort of tried to mention it even. I derail myself. That's something good about I don't know being that you end up being also your own annoyance to some degree. You don't actually want to take some routes, but you end up anyways. Not because you are truly willing, but rather because you just can't help yourself in that sense. So yeah. Anyway, without all of that verbose explanation about something else that is also unrelated, what I'm trying to talk about is Uh, I said I have to read a book recently, yesterday, and I tried to go through it. I I mentioned it sort of consistently enough here. That's what I find useful is audiobooks myself. I don't know. I have many issues or many excuses in that sense. So you can pick whichever one you want. The point is, yeah, audiobooks are better. And this time, I ended up consuming like a 5 hour audiobook just 2 days. And I don't know, it's always something worrisome to feel like one might be going through information too fast. But at the same time, it's what I was trying to say earlier. Maybe we get better at repeating tasks, processing, going through information, discarding what we don't want and picking what we actually need. All of that sort of action, or all of those sort of actions, can be accomplished more easily if we can actually use our time in that. The issue is trying to do it and trying to actually become better at it. But I don't know. I guess it also has to deal with this sense of fitting. The more one deviates from what they can see is normal, one can't help but just feel like maybe maybe I might be doing something wrong. Even if nobody is actually telling me, it doesn't mean that I am not doing anything wrong. It just means that I might have other sort of, I wouldn't say issues, I will just say situations that normal people cannot really experience, and now that they're interfering with myself. And I don't know, all of that is still just, what is it? Demoralizing ways of conceiving oneself, I guess? The point isn't really to just try to feed. In this case, productivity should be more important than the feeling of fitting or not fitting. It's, let's say, chasing after productivity is a lot more meaningless than anything else. It's to some degree it's better to be something useful than to be something that just fits. And to be the most useful sometimes unavoidably one just needs to change how they are. When it happens, it unavoidably happens, and we just try our best. But I don't know, we don't really get to change that much in some cases. And anyway, the point itself being, I find myself also thinking that what I mentioned before, many people might as well have similar capacities. It's distressing to just know that people might never find out about that, but it's also something useful to at least, I guess, take the if we need other terms, copium of, uh, but maybe there is a way in which you can decide to mention it so that other people might be willing to give it a try, you know? It's just framing, the way in which we decide to frame stuff dictaminates so much more than what we can really anticipate the outcome of the things that we do. And how I framed something might affect me to such a degree compared to others that we might end up even getting polar opposite results from that. And who knows? All of that is complicated. But I don't know. Everything is sort of complicated, I guess also. That's that's the funny thing of it, I guess. This idea of nothing nothing is complicated. That is saying of supposedly nothing is complicated. I mean, okay, we don't really like to think about reality in that sense that much. Because there is okay, initial saying, let's say that there should be no absolutes. We can't really speak on absolutes. It shouldn't be a possibility. Then how are we sure that the stuff like everything in this world is real, or everything in this world matters? Is it not just one of those absolutes of sorts? What if also in this case everything is complicated, makes it change? But I don't know, it doesn't really mean much, I guess, because it comes mostly from a personal perspective, or from a societal perspective of everything is this way, let's say, and just on just based on how we perceive it, it's going to lie to alter every other thing that comes down after that. I don't know. I don't want to say, yeah, we are completely impossibilitated of reconciling with the reality in that sense, or getting to a better place. It's just will needs to come into play in that sense. Are we actually interested in oh, seeing stuff of this sort? Are we willing to deal with the weight of this idea, the weight of the revelation? Something pretty important. The, I feel like we don't even talk about it enough in general, even less in places like this one. So that's also something that is complicated. Everything is supposedly complicated, so yeah, this is also one of those complicated things. But yeah, I don't know, man. I just think, really, But it really won't really move that much from initial positions in general. The somewhat, yeah, we get to change a lot, we get to become different, if nothing else. But it doesn't really mean that much when all of that it doesn't impact on anything of importance. You can have your whole appearance in many ways, or let's say it with a different, more understandable word. You can change your whole cosmetic aspect without impacting how your physical performance goes. No, not really. In many occasions, it won't, unless you are purposely changing how you have to move or how you interact with the rest of the world due to something of that sort. No. This, once again, this illusion of everything is important is sort of complicated, sort of dangerous, really. But we can't really talk about things like that. It takes too much, I will say, believe, belief, trust, that, yeah, we will summon everything that is wrong. We will try to fix it. Yeah, I don't know, man. I guess I've nothing else complicated sense. Also, wait. We lagged? There was lag? Let me check that. I think there was lag. Let me actually check. No, I cannot believe it. Did we have lag? No? What? Why did it tell me that we had a lag? What? Anyway, uh, it happens, yes. Anyway, um, stuff. There is like too much stuff to say to some degree. Sadly, I will have to see. We need interesting stuff that's complicated. So, yeah, yes, we can. If we are capable, I don't think I will be here tomorrow, but probably the day after tomorrow, or not probably, if we are not here tomorrow, most surely the day after tomorrow is when we are going to be here. That's how it's going to go, I guess. But yeah, today I have, yeah, I don't really admit that many things. It's not about feeling to say bad things, but yeah, I haven't really been capable of actively resting, not because of anything else, but literally because I just don't allow myself to rest, I guess. I don't know, it's hard to say it in a way that makes not makes sense, feels true enough, feels close enough to the reality of the issue. But yeah, it's it's already break time. Rest is still lacking. At this rate, I would even say, yeah, it's being pessimistic at this point, but it might even be the unavoidable path towards the failure of the goal of writing something. Not that it truly is impossible to do, even while not having enough rest, but rather at least we can say that proper rest in that sense would be pretty much helpful, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I guess all of this was just a very indirect way of saying that, yeah, I guess I should take my leave. I don't know. Life is tiresome. Let's 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 just say that it's not really much, but it's also not really false, you know. And it's just something hard to say. I think because it also on one hand you have that, but also it's about showing up to things. Life itself is about showing up to the things that we want more than anything else. And I don't know. I don't see in many cases that the issue are the impossibilities. Most of the people that I know, most of the people that I see don't have those issues because of external things, let's say. Showing up is more related to, yeah, can I allow myself to do that? Can I believe that I will do it or try to achieve this goal of showing up to what I want? It's not such a mysterious thing. We like to mystify stuff, and I don't know. It's along the lines of the medicalization of and what is it? This other word? Institutionalization, supposedly, of issues. That it comes the process of trivializing this need for action from oneself, not from anything else, you know? It's very easy. I feel like it has become easier and easier only to complain about what we don't have and what we can't accomplish and whatever else. To some degree, sadly, we have to just have more and more places to collect people who have all of those things. of those same experiences. And at this point, I don't know. I don't feel like, yeah, we are truly getting to ourselves satisfy the necessity, so to speak, of, you know, I might be wanting to get this. It just becomes this abandonment of interest out everything because it's the common thing to do. And even then, it's not really my issue. It's the issue of the rest. I can I can say that I would influence them. That's it. That's where my identity stops and my responsibility stops in regards to all of that. Not because I don't really have anything to deal with it, but rather because what am I going to say? Failed? I don't need to admit that. Failure. If I am not being obliged, I won't admit a mistake. This idea of, yeah, nobody wants to sort of ridicule themselves for the sake of doing it. And how do you make it sound more reasonable to do? This idea of, yeah, try to show up to stuff. Try to not have many things to say when you don't want to. Just be honest about it and show up or don't. If the issue is always, no, no, it's not about me, it's about them, it's about that thing, it's about this goal, it's about this. Other side that is missing, it's about, even from a perspective of oneself, it's always something else. It's never an actual issue with, I guess, the interest, the capacity to do it. There's something that we try to avoid and we get to avoid, but it isn't really all that positive. There are always other things to try and see, and if nothing else, actions can always be changed supposedly. So at least I guess one lives with that tiny win of perhaps tomorrow. Even if today I didn't do it, tomorrow I will change someone better. I don't know, man. Some people might as well spend their whole life to get better in that sense. And I don't know. Is it about waiting? I don't think so. But we used to have so what talking about one of those things, man. It's also impossible to know what needs to actually be done. Anyway, I guess now for real. Also, because despite all of the rage, I guess I am still Anyways, falling asleep. So yeah, before we have a tiny sleep of mine, and I end up literally falling asleep. Uh, we should try to avoid that, you know. it's I guess it's just going back to that older rhythm of consuming so much information like I used to. That makes it such a common thing. That's Yeah, that's in general. At least personally, when I see it happen, so I don't really get to see anything like that. That's tiny flavors I was talking about sort of disappears. But at the same time, that's also like incredibly exhausting. Trying to fit things that come from very different fields is a task of no simple, simple of no easy doing, simple doing, maybe of no easy doing itself. So sadly, it's the consequence of, I guess, accepting being oneself too much, or accepting just the basic desires too much. That's also that whole idea of the hierarchy of desires, developing further and further desires as a possibility, if nothing else, that seems to matter. Who sort of who knows? But yeah, anyway, now for real. Until next time, bro. Tomorrow, the day past tomorrow, until someday, until next time, basically. Yeah. Next time, also probably properly rested, I guess. That's that should be the main task, the main priority right now. Who knows? Anyway, if just as a final word, if you have to take anything as a lesson today, challenge yourself, I guess. Challenge yourself more than what you're used to. That's that's useful, I guess. But yeah, anyway, sorry. Sorry for not being enough.